Hello, my name's Laura and this is Jemima, and we are here to show you our craft today. We're sat in our kitchen at home. We are using lots of things that you will have at home. We're giving you lots of different options, so whatever you have at home you can use for this one, and we're going to be making a cityscape. Here we go. So our memory verse is, therefore go and make disciples of all the nations. We're thinking about all those people who live in cities that we can go and tell about Jesus. We are going to be doing some printing. We're going to be doing a bit of rubbing if you've got some wax crayons and some textures that you can use at home. And we're going to be using cereal boxes, newspaper, wrapping paper, bits cut out of a magazine, just anything that you have at home. So the first thing you need to do is create a background. So we have used cereal boxes because that's the kind of thing that you'll have hanging around. Anything that's nice and strong, because we're going to be sticking some bits to it. So flimsy paper is not going to work so well as a bit of card. So any bit of packaging. For this one I used felt pens and I did a nice swirly design. Jemima has done one where she's used watercolours and made a sunset type of design. Have a look, we're only filling up the top half of the piece of paper because we're going to put all of our buildings along here. So don't do your best artwork down here because it's going to get covered up. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make some things for printing with. And again, we're using bits of scrap cardboard here. And what I've done for this one, so this is going to print on the windows onto a building. And all you do is you take a piece of card and then you stick down with some really good glue this time, little bits of cardboard to make up those windows. Put your windows on there and then leave it to dry. Now it really doesn't matter what colour card you use for these because we're going to be printing with it, so it doesn't matter. It's just making a raised texture. So this one we've used little scraps of foam which we've stuck down in lines, so they might be like the different stories of a building. And this one, again done in lines, but I've used some string. So we're now ready to do our printing. So we've got our printing blocks, they're all nice and dry, they're not going to fall apart when we're printing. We are going to put some paint onto our printing blocks and then we're going to print them onto any of these sheets of paper. So we've got a bit of shoebox, bit of note paper, an old envelope, some newspaper, some brown paper, whatever you fancy. If you can stick to blacks, browns, whites, it's kind of the better colours for making some skyscrapers, but if you don't have those, it really doesn't matter. You can do a rainbow cityscape if you want to. So we are going to just put a little bit of paint onto our printing block. So I've got one of these spongy brushes here. Jemima's got a normal paintbrush. But if you've got whichever paintbrush you're doing, dip it in your paint and then just wipe most of it off. Because if you have too much paint, it's going to splodge in between all the nice raised textures that we've got. So we're just going to put a little bit of paint onto those. Jemima, do you want to do one in white to do onto the shoebox? And then while that's still wet, I'm then just going to press it down onto my piece of paper, and we're not worried about the shape of the paper yet because we can cut out our buildings afterwards. So I'm just putting a bit more on now. It would be great if it lined up with that one, but if it doesn't, don't worry. Press it down. It's all looking brilliant. Okay, so that's that one done. Let's use this envelope because it's already got a nice window on there already. So if I just go lightly onto those squares and I'm going to just press it down next to it. Let's see if it does another one straight away or if we need some more. Yeah, it's not bad. It looks kind of a bit more like bricks than windows, but that's okay. One other good way to use what we've got at home to help us make these textures is we can find some textures that we can do crayon rubbings on. So I've got a cake cooling rack here, but there are textures all around your house. You might be able to find some bricks. You might be able to, what about rubbing the top of some Lego or something like that? That might make a really good texture. So all you do is get a piece of paper. We want nice thin bits of paper for this one so that the texture comes through. And we're going to use a crayon on its side. And we're just going to hold it still. You might want to get your parents to do that for you, or a friend. Just to hold that paper still, and then we're going to rub away from us. Nice long strips. Now, when I first did this, I thought that that was going to make a square shape. It's not. It only picks up the top one of those lines. So if I then turn it around, I can do exactly the same thing, and I'm getting that nice squared shape on there. What we're going to do now is we're going to cut out some rectangles from all these bits of paper that we've made. We're going to cut out some rectangles, and then we'll see you back, and we're going to stick them all down onto our background. Our pieces of printing are all dry. We're now ready to cut out all of our shapes. Now we can do some very basic rectangles to make skyscrapers. Or we could give them a little roof on the top. That's a bit like the one at Canary Wharf, isn't it? And we can make some tall ones, some short ones. And then, so Jemima and I have cut lots and lots of ones out. So we are now going to stick them down in super quick time. And we're all stuck down. I'll probably trim this bit off the bottom. And then we're going to add our all-important memory verse, which is, therefore, go and make disciples of all the nations. I think I'm going to put mine down the bottom. I think I'm going to do it on a little bit of white paper so that it stands out. Jemima's going to do hers at the top on the sunset. And then we're done. Thanks very much.